Hello, thanks for joining this session. My name is Camille Mofidi and I'm the European Manager for Kobo Writing Life. And today we'll be talking about global distribution with internationally known best-selling author Bella Andre. So this session is sponsored by Kobo Writing Life, along with two other sessions we had yesterday with Hugh Howey about hybrid author. We had another one on Tuesday about marketing for authors with Ben Galley and Orna Ross. They were both chaired by Diego Marano, who is here. He's our brilliant UK manager here. And if you missed any of them, you'll be able to see the videos very shortly on our blog. It's kobowritinglife.com. And as you know, Kobo Writing Life, this is Kobo's self-publishing platform that enables authors and publishers to publish their ebooks for free across 190 countries. If you are willing to know more, we are over there, Kobo booth. You can come and visit us. And you can also seize that opportunity while you are here to have a great photo shoot by a professional fashion photographer we have over there, if you'd like to get your picture to put it on your website or on your books. So in this session, we are going to talk about digital self-publishing and how it enables authors to reach a really large audience anywhere in the world, basically, without the restrictions that the print books could have until now. So with Bella, we'll be talking about ebooks, of course. We'll be also talking about translation and how that enables you to reach a larger audience outside of your local market. And we'll also be talking about branding and how you should be able to brand yourself in your local markets, but also abroad in order to get more success. So I'm joined today by Bella Andre. Bella is a romance writer. She's a best-selling author in the States and also all over the world. She sold 3 million books all over the places, and her books has hit the number first on the bestsellers list several times on New York Times and USA Today. So she's very famous among the indie authors community, and she has also been invited many times to share her experience in digital conferences. So thank you, Bella, for being with me today.
Glad to be here.
As one of the first American authors who went indie, you've been able to establish your brand and your name, and now you're very well known, and you are really a very successful author in the United States.
Yeah.
But you didn't stop yourself there, and very quickly you decided to reach other markets and other languages. For example, just in Europe, your titles are available in German, in Italian, in Dutch. So what led you to this decision?
So let's see, it was, I started self-publishing my titles in 2010, and I had been with New York publishers previous to that. I had been with 3 of the big 5 now. And, you know, nothing had ever really happened at all. I never broke out in any kind of way. So I began self-publishing in 2010, and I think it was, I started to have some success, some pretty big success by winter 2010, and then it kind of kept growing and kept growing. So by summer of 2011, and mind you, these are like the olden days, right? It's a long time ago in self-publishing terms. It was like its infancy. But it occurred to me, it was like, you know, I had this aha moment, and I remember I was standing in the kitchen, and I thought, wow, there's only one of me, and I'm running now this publishing business with me. I'm the only content provider for my publishing house, and I should probably get some sleep at some point. So how can I take my book, you know, each book, how can I do the most possible with each book? And I was like, you know what? It's a big world. And I can take my books in English. And you know what? I know how to do this. I know how to reach audiences with covers. I understand how to title a book. I understand metadata. So there's no reason that I shouldn't be able to, if I can find good translators, you know, I should be able to replicate this. It didn't feel like magic. It was like, I think I know what I'm doing here. So, you know, I called a couple of writing friends, Barbara Freethy and Tina Folsom, and I said, I had this idea, you guys. We should totally go global. And at that time in 2011, there weren't even digital sales happening here in the UK. I'm trying to think, that might have been right around when Amazon UK opened up. And then the Apple Store and Kobo came in at that time. But there weren't at that point really any places. But I was like, you know what, you can't worry about what's happening right now because it's going to happen. And I was absolutely certain that it would. So I really started thinking about it at that point and making a plan for how I wanted to take my one book, my many one books, and do as much as possible with them. And translation and foreign territories was really a big part of that.
And this is very interesting because we know that today with digital, you can only be successful if you are available internationally. And this is also what is possible with ebooks. And you were just saying that, talking about getting some sleep. I think we must say that one of the reasons for your terrific success is also your tireless and constant effort in promoting yourself, in publicity. And that's the way you've been able to really build your name as a brand. I remember one of the first time I heard you talk, you were explaining how you build your covers. And on your covers, what's really important is your name, Bella Andre. And I'd like to hear you about that. How did you manage first to build your brand in the United States?
Right.
And then how did you build your brand also abroad?
Right. So again, I was published by New York publishers, but nobody knew who I was. In fact, at the point that I began to self-publish, all of the very well-meaning powers that be were like, you know what, Bella Andre's dead, nobody cares, come up with a new name. So when I began to self-publish, you're kind of coming out of that world where, it's the title of your book, and then in the tiniest 4-point font, it's maybe your name in cursive down on the bottom and nobody can read it. And so I use the word these aha moments all the time, but it was one of my first big aha moments where I was making my first cover and I was really learning how to use Photoshop and all that kind of stuff. And I made the cover like that, where it was the big title and my name was, and I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, I can do whatever I want. And what I want is to be a big bestseller. So I'm going to start from the place of branding myself like the bestsellers do. Because when you do it for a publisher, they decide, you know what, now you're selling enough copies where your name is bigger than the title. And you'll see it. If you think about all of your favorite authors, go look at your bookshelves, and there'll be a switch to when their name went underneath, went bigger and the title went smaller. So I really came out of the gate and I was like, I'm going to do the James Patterson model. You know how his covers are just his name? I was going to go as close to that as I could get away with and have a good looking cover. So I did that. And probably, maybe if anybody had cared or noticed, they might have sort of had a giggle about me looking at my books, but irrelevant, who cares? Do what you want to do. By the time I had put out maybe 5 or 6 books at that point. Suddenly people all started to say to me, oh my God, I see your name and you're everywhere. They were like, I cannot go on to buy an ebook and it is Bella Andre, Bella Andre, Bella Andre. And I very carefully branded all of the covers. Even my Sullivan series is my most popular. It's about a family, a large family. But I have other series and other books. But I was very careful to make sure that when I figured out what it was my brand was, that there was a continuity, the font that I use for my name, the kind of images that I use, so that it all looks the same. You can recognize me, my books, at a distance. And now people have started to, because they're smart, they're making their covers look like my covers, and they're using my font. They're basically just copying them completely, totally. But still, I think you can tell that, which ones are mine across the thing. And I also wanted to add one other thing is that I think the biggest thing, apart from really thinking about my brand and the covers, is that I have very regularly released titles for the past 3.5 years. And it happens to be that the world of self-publishing, as I've sort of operated in it, it's been a really good fit with my natural writing style. When I was writing for publishers, they could have put out 4 books a year for me if I had been an important enough author for them to want to do that. So when I was in charge, when I was like, you know what, I can do whatever I want. Again, beautiful, do whatever you want. I was like, I'm going to put out 4 books a year because that's how fast I'm done with them anyway. And so it's just been a really nice fit.
This is very interesting. Now, if we focus on translation,
Yeah.
how do you ensure that your work has exactly the tone and the sensibility that you are looking for when it's not in your native language? And more generally speaking, how can an author have a control about the quality of the translation in that case?
I mean, honestly, it's incredibly difficult. And I'll just be straightforward with you guys. I joke that I lose money so that other people don't have to. So in 2011, greatest idea ever, right? I mean, totally brilliant. I'm just going to lead the charge and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to do it simultaneously in 8 languages, right? Because you know what, if you're going to do it, go big. So I did. So I hired teams. I hired translation teams, the translators, copy editors, and the proofreaders, who I assumed were all going to do an awesome job, right? And they're going to all quality check each other, and it's going to go super great in 8 territories. And because, like I had assumed, I was very good at metadata and covers and et cetera, when I launched these titles, they very quickly rose up in the stores so that people were buying them, at which point I very quickly got the reviews that said that the translations had issues. So, and I'm just going to segue right into this. So I actually, because I had so much experience with this myself, that when Camille contacted me about partnering on translations, I couldn't agree fast enough, because the most important thing with translation, and other people have done it since then very successfully. They've managed to get very good translators, and I just did not hit the luck of the draw 8 times over. I mean, I got 0% success rate. I had to pull every single book down. I lost in the tens of thousands of dollars at it. Not quite 6 figures, but I lost a lot of money on it. But it was what I felt about it was that it was a lesson well learned. I learned just how careful you have to be in translation and just how difficult it is to translate.
Of course, yeah, because translation is a real, it's a real job.
Yes.
And you, not only you need to be a very good translator, but you also need to understand the author's spirit and wit and be able to really render that in the local language.
Yes.
And to give a bit of a background, Kobo partnered with Bella Andre for the translation into French of her 4 Weddings and Fiasco series. And we just launched the first episode. There are 5 books, and the next one is going to go out in May. And yeah, and this is very exciting.
Yeah. I think it's the new. I really feel. I get so excited about it, and Camille has heard me say this 1,000 times, but I think that Kobo have been absolutely the pioneers in this, because I think this is the future. I think really brilliant retailers who know their market. And see, Kobo is really such a global retailer, and that's your focus. Mm-hmm. That's your focus as a retailer who understands the foreign market, partnering with authors to make sure that we're getting the content out. So these languages, the foreign languages, just don't have as robust of content, digital content right now. Mm-hmm. So to be able to take the English language bestsellers and translate them into these languages is a really fabulous thing. But what they have done for me is really, it's vetting out the translators. It's the quality check on the translation. It's all that stuff. It was that final piece. See, because I had all the other pieces, but the most important piece just didn't work. Yeah. So that is what that is, and I just have to say again, my hat's off to you guys, because I think it's exactly the innovation that I was hoping would happen.
So it's really good that we could come up with this together.
Yes.
And of course it's about the translation, because we need to have a really good content. Mm-hmm. But it's also about how you can really meet the reader's expectation in terms of for example, what is the taste of the readership in France in terms of covers? Do they go for the same kind of covers as in the US or in the UK? And even the pricing, because we know that it's very important to have really the price that fits the habits of the market, the pricing point. And also because we have teams all over the world, we've been able to really monitor that. So, for example, the price point in France may be not the same as what the people in Quebec would go for it.
Right. And it's so good because it's like a window into what our process was. And, and it was funny because I was joking and I was like, phew, for the first one, we were doing a lot of work because we were developing, we're like innovating a whole new system of authors and retailers. None of us have done this before. Nobody has ever done this before. And it was really exciting. But, I mocked up because I make all my own covers. And again, one of the bonuses of being able to do that is I mocked up, I think, 5 or 6 different styles of covers. She ran it by all the merchandisers in the French language territories, and then she came back to me and she said, "Okay, here's the feedback. Here's what everyone thought." And it was interesting. In the end, we ended up going with my English language covers, but with French on them. But I wanted to mock up a lot of different, styles of it, because we had talked about, here's some things. She had sent me a whole document with about like 15 covers. And I studied them. I really studied them, and I was like, okay, I can see what it is, and I knew who the authors were, so I kind of knew what the styles of books were. So it's been such an interesting learning process for us, and everything from translating the back matter of your book to make sure that the next books in the series sell. So we created pre-order links for books 2 through 5. We had to think about, okay, we're getting the book from the translator on this day, but then it has to go through the editing production cycle. When can we get these other books up so we can actually put the pre-order dates on them? And then once we got the links, we have to translate. We're not just translating the book itself. We're translating all the back matter, all the things that are like, keep watch out for the next books in the series, or here's an excerpt of the second book, and stuff like that. All the stuff that you kind of don't think about at first. You're like, I'll just get the book translated and I'm good to go. So it's exciting and it can be a little overwhelming, but I think it's a fun process. I like innovating. I like doing new things and seeing what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why also we partner with you, because we know that you are very innovative. You like to be testing all the time new initiatives, and like have a new pilot project. So because we knew also that you had many translations before, we just wanted to see how that could fit.
Yeah.
And since we are talking about translation, I think something that would be interesting for the audience is that we know that translation has a cost.
Yes, it does.
And of course, you
it certainly does.
You know that better than anyone. So could you just tell us how you build your business plan, and in terms of how much you should be investing for your books, not only for the translation, for all the costs, but also, of course, including like translation for the first books that you've done in the past?
Self-publishing doesn't have to be expensive. Like I said, I make my own covers, but if you don't make your own covers, or you're just like, that's not a skill set that I have, you can hire cover artists. You can get great covers for $100. You could get great covers for $1,000. You really, I can just tell you what the breakdown of costs are for me. Do you want me just to kind of say when I put out a book what the breakdown of costs are?
Or sure, that would be interesting.
So the cost of my time is the biggest one, obviously, in writing the book. So I was I graduated with an economics degree from Stanford like many moons ago. So my brain always will think about supply and demand curves and return on investment. So I'm always like, well, the ROI on, So the return on investment for every second that I write is enormous. So I really try to make sure to like keep everything else streamlined, because that return on investment is so big. It also means the losses are big too when I'm turned away from it. So my copy editor costs $1,000 for a full-length title, which is I think extremely reasonable. Proofreading for a full-length title, and by full-length I mean 80,000-90,000 words, is a couple $100. But I have 5 proofreaders, And the reason for that is because I'm telling you, you put your book out, you're like, it's perfect. And you send it to 5 proofreaders, and all 5 find different things. So do not skip that step. So I do that. I used to do my own formatting, and then that, I'm telling you, that was the first thing to go. So I have a great formatter. And I'm trying to think what her by book breakdown is for me by format. I think it ends up costing me maybe to get it on, all the different formats is like maybe $300 or $400 per book. It's something like that. There's cheaper. There's cheaper people who will do it all for $50. You can find them. And then I do hire somebody to run my launch weeks. Someone who I worked with online who's like sort of a Facebook specialist. So she runs my launch weeks on Facebook, and it's about $1,000, $1,500. But the thing is, and if this sounds like it makes sense for me to do these things again because that return on investment from not losing. Did I start off with any of that? No. I mean, it was like I did all my own covers, all my own formatting. I did always hire copy editors and proofreaders, so that's the one thing you do that no matter what, and just did all my own. It was only in the last probably 12 months or so that I have someone who runs launch weeks for me 4 times a year, and then we'll do sort of like Mother's Day or Valentine's Day. We'll do special kind of like week-long things. So that's like, a couple $1,000s to do that. And, giveaways and stuff. I don't do a lot of giveaways because what I've learned, and I'm just going to throw this in here because this is really important. I'll see people be like, I have to give away really expensive stuff. And actually, the really only thing that your readers want is time with you. So, and maybe little sneak peeks of the next book and stuff like that. So, and my readers' favorite thing of all time, in my Sullivan series, the nicknames of the twin girls are Naughty and Nice. And we found necklaces that on one side said naughty and one side said nice. And these necklaces are like $10. And people will like sell their souls for these necklaces, right? So, and I also want to add, the reason why I do any like giveaways at all, I mean, is, obviously because my readers are awesome. So here's stuff. But I incentivize everything. So when I have a release, and this is what we're going to be doing in the French market. We have a whole separate French newsletter now. So we're going to be replicating all of these things. But when I do a new release, everything is tied to the virility, if that's saying that right, of my new release. So you have to share a very specific post with the links and the cover and everything on Facebook. You have to share on Twitter. So you get entered in for different like sort of prizes or different things by how many different ways you share the book. Are you sharing it on Goodreads? Are you sharing it on Twitter? Are you sharing it on Pinterest? Are you sharing it on Facebook? And every time you do that, you get entered in for stuff. And and the thing is, and I honestly believe this, is that people are just, look, I'm a reader. I love books. I just want to, when I read a book, I'm like, I have to tell you about this book. It's the greatest book ever, right? So even without getting like a cute little necklace, you want to share this with people. You want to be like, oh my God, there's this Sullivan family. There's 12 books in the series. I'm telling you, it is all you are going to do for an entire week. You have to read them. They're happy to go do that anyway because they love your work. So, that's some of the stuff. And I've just veered now. I'm just talking now.
So but this is also interesting. And one of the things is, I was listening to all the things you do. And you have a very big catalog.
It's very big. I have 30 titles now.
30 titles. And you also have several pen names. So that means also that you are managing several brands.
Yes.
So just how can you manage all these things together?
And languages now.
And languages.
Yes.
And of course,
and audiobooks. I mean, I am across a wide swath.
Yeah, but you're available on every platform and every product also. Mm-hmm. But in terms of branding, how can you like rationalize the branding when you have several pen names, not only in your home country but also when you're approaching new countries and new languages? Because you need to start all over again. Each time.
It is. I mean, it's daunting actually. The good thing is like once you understand how to do it, and it's not. I'm not as systematic about things as I should be. Like if I were to be like, I could be more organized probably in terms of keeping really detailed spreadsheets of how I do stuff. I mean, like if I had been keeping a spreadsheet of everything exactly how I do it for the last 2 years, it would probably make foreign language launches easier. My brain just shuts down. It's just like, it's not going to do that. So I haven't done it. But I think you do definitely get a sense. Like I can think about, like when I think about, for instance, I think about promotion, and I'm like, for me, it really boils down really simply to, I have 3 spokes in my promotional wheel, above and beyond the great cover, the great book description, the great title. So that's the most important thing. But when I go out with any news, and this is like my sort of thing that works for me, is I immediately so it's the little things, and this is what I'll do globally. I have a piece of news. I probably have maybe 2 or 3 pieces of news like a day per name, like, something I'm sort of announcing, or we're discussing a character, or we're doing something. So I'm not on that long. I'm probably on social media only about maybe a half hour a day, because so what I'll do is I'll open up a browser with Twitter, I'll open up a browser with Goodreads, I'll open up a browser with Facebook. So I have it all up. And then depending on what the news is, I'll open up another browser with my website so I can update my news page in the same moment. And boom, I hit them all instantly at the same time. So so everything goes out. I call it the spokes on my wheel. I have given Pinterest some thought, but you know what? Right now, I'm not convinced about that wheel, that spoke. So I'm like, I'm going to kind of wait and see. But that way I hit it. It doesn't take me long. Everybody kind of gets the thing at the same time. I can come back in like 5 hours later. And that's really when you're going to get all your comments within like the first couple of hours anyway. I can come back in and respond to boom, put everything, I put, all those browsers back up again, do it. So it's I've kind of gotten a system in my head of how to do it. And so when I'm thinking about the global market, look, the systems are going to be the same. They're no different. So, we'll just, be hitting it in all those same ways. The one thing about the foreign markets and doing that is different is you've got to have like a pretty quick bounce back on with the person that is doing the translation for you on, I want to post this on Twitter and Facebook right now, or tomorrow morning or whatever, to be able to translate that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's going to be probably the next step.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is. Yeah. And that makes really more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you have a pattern that is well developed, and you just need to go through, globally.
Right.
So you are, I think, one of the indie authors with really this global scale and global strategy.
Yeah.
And I remember last year in London Book Fair, we heard a lot about self-publishing. And here we've seen the Author HQ. It was just packed during the 3 days of the fair.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's been amazing, really. And we see more and more authors interested not only by self-publishing, but also by global distribution and, of course, translation. And on the other hand, we also see more and more translators who are considering offering their services directly to authors. So in your opinion, should publishers worry about that trend, and what's going to be the next move?
You just want to get me in trouble, huh? Well, yeah, I mean, publishers can do what they want, right? I mean, and they'll do what they want. I think that like early on in this new world of publishing, it was probably easier to kind of discount people like me. It was like, well, what are you going to do? And then when people like me start taking over all the #1 spots everywhere over all of their authors, they're like, oh, well, we didn't see that coming, And I think that the reason why when I had that aha moment in 2011, I knew it was a good one, and had it worked beautifully, it would have been genius. Is the beautiful thing about being a self-publisher is how nimble we are. We have an idea and we act on it. And one of the big disadvantages that big publishers have, and this is like no surprise, I'm not saying anything that you guys don't already know, but is that they're big companies. And so it can be hard to turn a ship. First you have to decide to turn a ship, but even once you make a decision to turn a ship, it's really hard to do that, whereas I'm just like, Rrr. So I think that is our competitive advantage, is that we can innovate really, really quickly. I'll make mistakes, that's fine. And then I learn from them. I do not regret what I did, because I learned so much about how to move forward from that. It really informed my plan going forward. So I'm really glad that it happened.
Yeah, and this is interesting because you are talking about your failures, and I guess you also exchange about them with your fellow self-published colleagues. We have seen the indie bestsellers booth over there. You really teamed up together to come, so all American coming to London. I think this is also quite an innovation, and it's like one of the first time we see indie authors becoming not only 7 brands, but you also created a brand
for
all
ourselves,
together.
really.
Yeah, we saw the banner on the other side.
Yeah, that's a nice banner, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, that is big.
Yeah, it is. And so we've been able also to really work with you in order to have this, like the promotions, in order to feature all
It's
of
beautiful.
your books.
I love it.
And I think also, I mean, all this innovation can really come from people like you or Barbara Fruity, Hugh Cowie, all those people who have already experienced and are willing to experience, no matter if the next step, it could be a good one or a bad one, but as you said, it's easier just to make a change.
Well, and I'd also rather be in control of my own destiny. Like if I'm going to screw it up, that's cool. I want it to be on me, you know? I was never like, you know, it always graded that, like, I'm like, oh, no, like, I think my cover should look like this. And then, you know, but ultimately it wasn't in my hands. And so I'm telling you, the second it was in my hands, I was like, boom, this is how I think my books would sell. And I was right. So like I will say this, I think that absolutely self-publishing, indie publishing is suited to certain personality types. I mean, let's not like say that it's not. If you are somebody who really likes to be in control of your own destiny, certainly if you have sort of a slightly type A personality, if you like to experiment, if you like to just kind of like try stuff and learn from it and go, okay, yeah, no, I'm totally going to do that better next time. And then you actually have to do it 4 more times before you actually get it right. If you thrive on that and you think that's really exciting, then this is your world. This is your world. And I will be honest and say that if you are like, all I want to do is sit in my cave and write my books, it could still possibly maybe be your world. But boy, you're going to probably have a rough go of it.
But talking about that word, you signed a huge deal with Harlequin for a print-only deal. So you still work with traditional publishers too.
Right.
And the first question is, how do you... So you are totally hybrid like Hugh Cowie. How do you...
I guess, although, you know, I never think of myself as hybrid, you know?
That's you was saying yesterday.
And I bet he said the same thing to you. Yeah, you know, because I retained... So I'll tell you guys, I signed the first ever groundbreaking. In fact, my agent who negotiated the deal with me said to me at one point, he goes, you do know this has never been done in publishing history, right? Ever. And I was like, no, I know. I signed a 7-figure print-only deal with Harlequin, which is the biggest publisher and distributor of contemporary romance, which is what I write around the world, in which I retained all digital, all foreign translation, all audio, and all film and TV rights. So in the United States, rights have never been divided before. In fact, up until the moment that I did the deal, literally every publishing industry thing, it was like print-only deals will never, ever, ever happen. And I was like, you know what? All right, you say that. But the thing is I was like, look, I come from an economics background. And once the numbers make sense, they make sense. So it doesn't even matter like what your bias or philosophy is once you see the certain numbers. So when what happened for me was when 3 books debuted on the New York Times in the same week, it wasn't just Harlequin that came calling. There was a lot of interest from other publishers in a print-only situation. So I think, you know, I mean, I have to give some credit, you know, to the publishers. Like people were kind of waking up and going, wait a minute, we want a piece of this. So I was able to retain the entire, so I am completely and 100% in charge of all my digital audio, foreign and film and TV, and to license them the English language print rights only. But even in that sense, we're partners in that. And so do I get a say on those covers? You bet I do. It's a very non-traditional deal in every sense of the word.
So does it mean that the covers that Harlequin has on the print books is inspired by
Yes,
your, yeah.
they decided to basically take my print covers, I mean my ebook covers, and have their art departments do stuff. But yeah, they basically decided that they weren't going to mess with the success that I had created. They were like, you obviously know what you're doing. You obviously know how to reach a market. And very exciting, the two most recent print paperback releases have also been on the New York Times. So, which is fun. I got the ebooks on the New York Times a year and a half ago, and then when the print versions came out, they also went on the New York Times. So we're doing this interesting thing where the books are looping. That's never happened.
And do you think that will happen more and more? And could you maybe give some advice to the audience if some authors are interested in maybe following the path that you showed?
I hope it happens. Hugh Howey did one not long after I did. I think he was probably in negotiations, and then there was one other author who did one. And there haven't been any. I've done now after Harlequin, after we did the first one, we've done 3 more. We're just finishing up the contract on our most recent one because it's going so well. We're moving forward. I don't know how to put this in sort of a delicate way. I'm not good at that. I think that authors have to know what they want and where your line is that you're not going to cross. And so for me, I was happy to turn down a lot of money and a really big offer to retain control over my products and feel confident that I would out-earn this really, really big offer. Probably, I thought, I'll out-earn it inside of 5 years. I out-earned this really big offer in a year and a half. So you have to know. I mean, you have to kind of be confident and also just be like, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? Like, so be it. But for me, it was like, you know what? I really like being in control of my thing. Other people will have great success in self-publishing and then enjoy selling their rights to a publisher and feel good about it. And they'll be very happy with that. I knew, probably because I had come from a traditional background, that it wasn't for me, that I wasn't going to feel good or happy about that no matter what the price tag was on it. I wanted it to be my own thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is all very interesting, Bella. Thank you so much for this inspiring conversation.